You've lived more than 6 decades, and now you can finally live the way you've always dreamed. But do you know what things you must avoid? Because the problem isn't loneliness. The problem is the invisible oversights that come with it. Small habits that seem harmless, but over time steal your health, your spirit, and even your joy of living. And the saddest part is that many people realize this when it's already too late. Today, I want to talk to you as if I were sitting with you, sharing a coffee, friend to friend, senior to senior. Because living alone can be the best thing that's happened to you if you know how to protect yourself from what seems small but wears you down. In this video, I'll tell you about the 10 silent mistakes you must avoid if you live alone after 60. Not to scare you, but to help you live with more awareness, more serenity, and more freedom. Don't skip anything, because maybe just one phrase could save you from a scare, a fall, or unnecessary sadness. Even someone like Tom Hanks, who seems to have it all figured out, has spoken openly about the importance of connection and community as he's gotten older. The difference between thriving and simply surviving in your later years often comes down to the small daily choices you make when no one is watching.
This doesn't happen overnight. You don't isolate yourself from one day to the next. It starts little by little. You stop calling someone because they're probably busy. You stop going to a gathering because it's not the same anymore. You get used to the silence, and when you realize it, you no longer know if you like it or if you simply don't know how to get out of it. After a certain age, you value peace so much that sometimes you confuse being alone with being well. And sure, tranquility is appreciated, but disconnection isn't. Because there comes a moment when you miss an unhurried chat, shared laughter, a look that doesn't judge, not out of necessity, but for your soul. From psychology, we know this. When we stop connecting with others, we also start disconnecting from parts of ourselves. It's like a muscle that stops being used. It weakens. And in old age, you notice this in your mood, in your body, in your desire to do things. I knew Rosa, 76 years old. She used to tell me, "I don't need anyone." But one day at a fair, a lady offered her a chair and they started talking. They spent more than an hour talking about their plants. And in the end, she confessed to me, "I didn't know how much I needed it until I had it." Look at someone like Oprah Winfrey. Even with all her success and resources, she's always emphasized the vital importance of meaningful relationships and staying connected to community. She understood early that isolation, regardless of your circumstances, can be one of the most dangerous traps we face as we age. Epictetus said it without beating around the bush. No human being can flourish in complete isolation. We're not made to live disconnected. When was the last time you talked to someone just for pleasure? When was the last time you heard your name said with affection? You don't need to do big things. A weekly call, joining a local activity, sharing tea with a neighbor even if you don't have much in common. It's not about filling a void. It's about keeping alive that part of you that still wants to be heard, embraced, recognized. Don't confuse solitude with freedom. Freedom is beautiful, but when it's accompanied by a bond, even just one, that reminds you that you're still here and that you deserve company, not out of necessity, but by right. If you're finding value in what we're discussing today, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Each video is designed to help you navigate this stage of life with wisdom and confidence. Your subscription helps us reach more people who might need to hear these words. Now, let's continue with the second mistake.
When you live alone, there's a trap that settles in silently, believing that you no longer have anyone to be accountable to. No one sees you. No one asks if you've eaten, if you've taken your medicine, if you've walked today. And then, without realizing it, you start postponing. I'll call the doctor tomorrow. My blood pressure will go down on its own. I don't feel like cooking today. But the body doesn't wait. The body continues its journey, with or without your attention. And if you don't take care of it, no one else can. At a certain age, the body starts speaking differently. It no longer shouts, it whispers. And if you don't listen to those whispers, you'll end up hearing screams. Pains that used to be temporary now last for days. A cold can become bronchitis. A bad step can turn into a fracture. I knew Jorge, a 77-year-old man who had lived alone for almost a decade. He told me, "When my wife was alive, I took better care of myself. She prepared my meals, insisted on checkups. Now, if something hurts, I wait. After all, why rush?" Recently, he was hospitalized for decompensation. It wasn't anything serious if he had gotten treatment in time. Think about Morgan Freeman. Here's someone who's maintained his vitality and continues working well into his 80s. The key isn't just good genes. It's the consistent, daily commitment to health maintenance, even when cameras aren't rolling and no one is keeping score. That discipline doesn't come from external pressure, it comes from self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said, "Each person's life is at stake at every moment. Act as if each day were an entire life." Maybe no one tells you, "Put on your coat," but you can tell yourself. Maybe no one cooks for you, but you can prepare something with love. Maybe they don't force you to go to the doctor, but you can prioritize yourself. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you had a complete checkup? Not out of urgency, but for prevention. Are you eating to nourish yourself or just to fill your stomach? Are you moving at least a little each day? Do you sleep peacefully or just close your eyes hoping fatigue will overcome you? Don't do it out of fear. Do it out of love, because your body still supports you and deserves gratitude, not as a debt, but as recognition.
When you live alone, your home is more than walls and ceilings. It's your silent cane, your refuge, your shield. But it can also be a minefield if you don't care for it with the attention it deserves. A loose step, a flickering lamp, an outlet that sparks. Small things, right? Until one day they're not. Until a fall, a scare, or a night in darkness teaches you harshly that you're no longer at an age to postpone what's important. Did you know that most domestic accidents in older adults happen in places as common as the bathroom or kitchen? Not because we're fragile, but because sometimes routine makes us blind to risks. And in old age, a stumble doesn't always resolve with, "It's over." Sometimes it changes everything. I met Mariano, a 79-year-old man who had lived alone for a decade. He always said with pride, "No one takes care of me because I take care of myself." But one dawn, while going to the bathroom, he tripped on the hallway rug. He didn't have his phone handy, couldn't get up. He spent 5 hours on the floor until a neighbor knocked on his door. That day, Mariano learned a lesson he shared with me humbly. I thought being independent was doing everything alone, but being wise is accepting help before it becomes urgent. Home safety isn't paranoia, it's prevention. It's not a sign of weakness, it's proof of intelligence. Have you recently checked how things are in your home? Is the lighting sufficient? Can you easily access the phone from each room? Are the objects you use most within reach without having to climb on a chair? Do you have support for moving in the bathroom or shower?
Epictetus said, "What's in your hands, do it well. The rest, let it go." And what's in your hands is your house, your environment, your well-being. Simple solutions can make a huge difference. Motion sensor lights in hallways that guide you like an invisible hand. A simple grab bar near the toilet or in the shower can make the difference between a fall and everything being fine. That rug that always moves. Maybe today it doesn't bother you, but one wrong step and it changes your entire week. And something more, perhaps the most important. Does someone know you're okay today? It could be a morning message, a call every 2 days, whatever you choose. It's not a bother. It's a small thread of connection that if it breaks one day, could save your life.
Why cook if it's just me? I've heard that phrase more times than I'd like, and it always leaves a pang in my chest. Because behind those words isn't laziness, there's forgetting. Forgetting yourself, as if after so many years of serving others, it's no longer necessary to serve yourself. But let me tell you something with my heart in my hand. You're not just you, your history, your memory. You're that person who has cared, who has given, who has fed so many, and now you're going to deny yourself the same? Eating well isn't a luxury. It's a form of dignity. It's the most basic way of telling yourself, I matter. I knew Louisa, a 76-year-old woman who ate bread and cheese almost every day. It's easy. I don't dirty dishes, she said. Until one day, she felt weak, without energy. Her body was speaking because she had stopped listening to it. When she resumed the habit of preparing at least homemade soup, something changed. I felt alive again, she confessed to me. Psychology explains this clearly. When we stop caring about how we nourish ourselves, it's often a sign of a deeper process of emotional disconnection. Did you know that the nutrients you consume also affect your mood? Poor nutrition not only weakens the body, it dims the mind, clouds emotions, makes you more vulnerable to sadness, anxiety, discouragement. You don't have to make banquets. Small actions with intention are enough. Cook once a day. Prepare something colorful. Eat on a nice plate. Sit at the table even if you're alone. Even light a candle if you feel like it. Make that moment an act of love. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do each thing as if it were the last thing you do in your life." And that includes food, because we don't know how many more dinners await us. Living in a house you can no longer sustain is like trying to hug a memory with tired arms. At first you tell yourself you can do it, that it's your home, that you built it with love, that your children grew up there. But over time, what was a refuge becomes a burden, and the hardest part is accepting it. It's not that you don't love your house. You love it so much that it hurts to recognize you can no longer handle it. A garden that no longer blooms like it before because your knees don't allow you to bend down. Stairs you used to climb singing and now descend with fear. Empty rooms that only hold silence and dust. And you know what? There's no guilt in that. There's no weakness. There's reality. And accepting reality isn't giving up. It's taking care of yourself. I remember Eduardo, an 80-year-old man I met at a community talk. He lived alone in an enormous house. This was our lifelong home, he told me. But he also confessed that for months, he hadn't gone up to the second floor, that the garden was dry, that he didn't sleep well for fear that something would break and he couldn't fix it. When he finally moved to a small apartment, he called me. "I sleep peacefully, friend, and I wouldn't trade that for anything." Sometimes what you need isn't more space, it's less anguish. It's being able to walk without fear. It's having everything within reach. It's feeling you can handle what you have. Psychology speaks of attachment to home, which is natural, but it also tells us that when that attachment prevents well-being, it becomes an emotional trap. Ask yourself, am I living in my house or surviving inside it? Am I caring for my home, or is my home consuming my energy? Moving, letting go, reorganizing isn't forgetting, it's reinventing yourself. It's choosing your well-being over what people will say, over fear, over nostalgia.
Losing the sense of days might seem like a poetic phrase, but when you live alone, it becomes a silent reality. One morning you wake up and don't know if it's Monday or Thursday. You prepare coffee, but don't remember what you did yesterday. The clock keeps running, yes, but you feel like you're on pause. This isn't rare. It's not your fault. It happens to many of us. When external routine is lost, work, children at home, fixed responsibilities, you start to blur time. Days that get confused, nights that stretch out, mornings that bring no enthusiasm. And then that sad whisper appears. I didn't do anything today. But it's not that you didn't do anything. It's that there wasn't something that made you feel you lived. The key is recovering meaning, not filling your life with occupations, but with intention. I know Teresa, a 77-year-old woman, who one day told me, I realized I was letting my life pass by between novels and lukewarm coffee. So she started something simple. She put an agenda in front of the refrigerator. She wrote down small actions in it. Water the plants on Tuesdays, go for a walk at 10, call her friend Marta on Thursdays. Now the days have names again, she told me later. Look at someone like Betty White. Even in her 90s, before she passed, she maintained a structured routine that gave her days purpose and meaning. It wasn't about being busy for the sake of being busy. It was about having anchors that made each day feel intentional and alive. You don't need a full agenda. You just need small purposes for your day to have structure, for your body to know what's coming, for your mind to wait for it with joy. From psychology, we speak of time anchoring, repeated activities that give us a sense of order. It can be something as simple as lighting a candle at sunset, having tea at the same time, reading a chapter before sleeping. Ask yourself, what excites me about each day? What small routines anchor me? Am I living my days or letting them slip away? Don't wait for the day to fill itself. Fill it yourself with small moments that remind you that you're alive.
It sounds simple, even logical. Why talk if no one listens? You tell yourself, I'm grown up. I should be able to handle this. And so you spend the day with a knot in your chest, and the night with a sigh that never quite comes out. When you live alone, it might seem like there's no one to tell your things to, and then you stop telling them. You keep the fear, the sadness, that nostalgia that sometimes takes you by surprise. And so, without realizing it, you turn silence into habit. But staying silent also weighs, and a lot. Not having someone beside you doesn't mean you should be your own psychologist, your own confidant, your own comfort every single day. There are pains that need to come out, even if they have no solution. There are emotions that, when named, hurt less. Have you found yourself more tired than usual for no apparent reason? Are you sleeping poorly? Do you discover yourself irritable or dull without knowing why? Many times, it's not the body, it's the soul speaking as it can. I know Manuel, an 80-year-old man who was always reserved. His wife passed away 5 years ago, and since then, as he says, he locked his heart with a double lock. One day he confessed to me, sometimes I talk to her in a low voice, because if I don't talk to someone, I wither away. Talking is medicine, even when it seems like it doesn't help, because the mere act of putting what hurts you into words already gives you back some control, already makes that pain not have you completely trapped. And if you don't have someone to talk to, maybe you do, but you think they're not interested or you don't want to bother, try the simplest thing, a call. Do you have a moment to chat? Not to tell sorrows, just to talk. Sometimes a light conversation already opens space for the rest.
And if there's no one nearby right now, there are other ways. Writing. Many older people underestimate the power of a sheet and a pencil. But writing is like emptying a backpack. It helps you put order to internal chaos. From psychology, we speak of emotional hygiene, like washing your hands to avoid getting sick. You also need to empty what you carry inside, so it doesn't contaminate your mood. It's not weakness, it's care. Give yourself permission to say what you feel out loud, without judgment, without rushing. And if you need professional support, seek it without shame.
When you live alone, there are things you can't leave to chance. A fall, a night without light, a spike in blood pressure. They're small situations until they happen. And when they happen, there's no time to think. You have to act. But if you don't have a plan, you're left waiting for someone to appear. And sometimes, no one appears. Have you ever wondered what you would do if one day you couldn't get up? Who would know something happened to you? Do you have your phone handy, charged, visible? Do you have a contact who responds quickly? Not having an emergency plan when you live alone is like walking through life with untied shoelaces. Nothing might happen today, but one wrong step and everything gets complicated. I remember Clara, a 76-year-old woman. She lived alone, very active, very lucid. One night, she tripped in her kitchen. Nothing broke, but she couldn't get up. Her cell phone was in the living room. She spent hours on the floor. The next day, a neighbor noticed the porch light was still on and went to check on her. After that, Clara did something we should all do. She got organized. She placed an emergency button she wears around her neck, put visible numbers near the phone, asked her neighbor to call her every morning. And above all, she understood something very valuable. Preparing isn't living in fear, it's living with respect. Marcus Aurelius said it with wisdom. Do everything as if it were the last thing you'll do in your life, because someday it will be. And it's not about being dramatic. It's about being ready. Preparation brings peace. Having a charged flashlight on the nightstand, a bottle of water nearby, your medications organized, a list with your medical data, allergies, and emergency numbers stuck to the refrigerator, a duplicate of your keys with someone you trust. All of that isn't paranoia. It's care. It's self-love. Ask yourself, if right now the lights went out, would you know what to do? If you had severe pain, could you ask for help? Is there someone who knows how to find you if you don't answer in 2 days? Over time, we all keep accumulating things. A vase that was a wedding gift, a box with yellowed letters, clothes we no longer wear but once loved. We keep them because we think we're protecting memory. But there comes a moment when you have to ask yourself, does what I keep give me peace or weigh me down? Living alone means living with your things, with all of them, the ones you use and the ones you don't. And when the environment starts to be full of objects that only take up space without utility or joy, something inside gets stagnant, as if there were no room for the new. And you're not that. You're still alive. You keep moving, feeling, learning. Your house should accompany you in that. I know Osvaldo, a 79-year-old man. After becoming a widower, he didn't touch anything in his wife's room for almost 5 years. Everything was as she left it. But every time he entered, instead of feeling comfort, he felt a knot in his chest. Until one day he understood something. He wasn't honoring her memory. He was stopping his life. And little by little, with respect and with tears, he began to donate, give away, organize. He kept a scarf that had her scent, a letter, a photo. The rest he let go. I didn't lose her by letting go of her things, he told me. I recovered her in the good memories and in the space I now have for myself. Freeing space isn't betraying. It's recognizing that you also matter, that you deserve a house that makes you feel light,
comfortable, at peace. A house where what's there makes sense. Have you noticed how the body feels when you clean a forgotten corner? How the soul breathes better when you open space in a closet, on a shelf, in a room? That's not coincidence. It's energy that circulates again, and you need it. Ask yourself, how many objects in your house no longer have a place in your life? How many things do you keep out of guilt, fear, or habit? What would change if you gave yourself permission to let go of what has already fulfilled its function? Start with a drawer, a box, a shelf, and keep asking yourself, does this serve me? Does this make me happy? Is this me today? You don't need to empty everything. Just make space. Because when you make room outside, you also make it inside.
For many years, asking for help seemed unnecessary. And even today, you keep telling yourself, I can do it alone. I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to seem weak. But let me ask you a question, with love and without judgment. Can you really do it alone, or are you just used to doing it? Because one thing is being strong, and quite another is loading yourself with everything, even though inside you're getting exhausted. We were taught that being adults is solving everything without depending on anyone, that asking for help is admitting defeat. But that's a dangerous lie. Because no one lives completely alone, not even the wisest, not even the most independent. Life is built in company, and asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Has it happened to you, feeling like you can't handle something anymore, and still continuing? Still cleaning the house when your body no longer responds the same way? Still resolving paperwork, bills, repairs, even though you don't fully understand how they work? Staying silent when inside you're screaming for company? That's not strength. That's forced solitude. And in the long run, it takes its toll. Marta, an 84-year-old woman, shared her story with me once. For months, she tried to do everything alone, carry her market bags, coordinate her medical appointments, maintain her garden, until one day, trying to move a pot, she fell and spent hours on the floor. I didn't want to bother my children, she told me with eyes full of guilt. But now I understand that asking for help doesn't burden them, it brings them closer. Since then, Marta does something beautiful. She has a list of small things she needs help with. And every time someone asks her, "Do you need anything?" instead of saying, "No, thank you," she says, "Yes, if you don't mind, could you help me with this?" Think about someone like Tom Hanks. Here's a man who seems incredibly self-sufficient, yet he's always been open about relying on his family, friends, and professional team. He understands that accepting help isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom and building meaningful connections with others. And you know what happened? Her children felt useful, her neighbors offered more help, and she felt less alone. Sometimes we think asking for help burdens others, but actually, it opens the door to a more honest, more real relationship. When you ask for help, you're saying, "I trust you." You're letting the other person see you, listen to you, care for you. Asking for help is maturity. It's knowing that real independence isn't carrying everything, but choosing what loads to carry and which ones to release. Ask yourself, how many times did you need help and didn't ask for it? How many times did you say you were fine when you knew it wasn't true? And how many things could have been resolved more easily if you had just picked up the phone? In old age, it's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about living well, in peace, with lightness. And that sometimes can only be achieved when we stop demanding so much from ourselves.
Living alone doesn't mean living in solitude. It means having the freedom to build your life at your pace, with your rules, with your timing, but also with the responsibility to care for yourself, respect yourself, and accompany yourself. Every decision you make today, from how you organize your house to whom you share your words with, can make the difference between an isolated old age and one lived with fullness. You're not here just to wait for days to pass. You're here to live them, to enjoy them, to keep learning, giving, receiving, loving, even from the quiet of your own space. You've already lived for others. You've already given everything you could give. Now it's your turn to choose yourself, care for yourself, listen to yourself, give value to your well-being as you gave it so many times to others. Think about all the people we've mentioned today, from Oprah's commitment to meaningful connections, to Tom Hanks's willingness to accept help, to Morgan Freeman's dedication to health, to Betty White's structured approach to meaningful days. What they all share is the understanding that living well, especially as we age, requires intentionality, courage, and yes, sometimes asking for support. If this content has resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming topics we're going to cover. Each video is a seed of consciousness, a pause for the soul, and I want you to be part of this community that honors maturity with wisdom, calm, and freedom. To recognize those who are truly committed to their inner peace, comment with the phrase, "I choose myself," every day, and tell me where you're listening from. I'd love to read you and know we're walking this path together. And don't leave without sharing this video. Maybe someone who lives alone in silence needs these words more than you imagine. Sometimes a single message can change the course of a day or a life. Thank you for being here. I'll wait for you tomorrow, because there's still much to live, and live well.